of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has everybody had a chance to take a look at the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I will second that motion.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Move on to number 4, alderman interviews if needed. I don't see anyone for that. So we'll move on to number 5. Number 5 is the new committees. I made out a new committee here for everyone since we joined. We have a few more aldermen joined, so. Thank you. So if you have any questions about it, feel free to ask. Any discussion on it?
When I started, I was confused by this.
Yeah.
So, if you're the chairman, you're the one that usually has to line up to meet, correct? Just so you guys know. If you're the chairman of the committee. And then if, a lot of times you like to have all 3 there, but there's, I'm gonna be point blank honest with you, that doesn't happen all the time. So, or sometimes if you have to do a review, evaluation on somebody, you know,
Right now, we could only have 2 anyways.
can we, is it still only 2?
Yep, if we had 6 aldermen, then we would be okay, but right now it's still.
Still 2, can only be that. But like, let's say I couldn't do it and I needed to do a review on somebody, then somebody on your committee could still do it. Does that make sense, guys?
And if we get a complaint about a particular department, and if you are the chair of that department, you will be the one receiving our complaint form.
Any other questions? If not, we'll move on to number 6, public input.
I have public input. Some things, first of all, for our new people, and even the ones that, the folks that have been on council members before, it would be a good idea to have an email address specific for city business, so they're not contacting your place of business. People aren't contacting your place of business through your email. And keep that information to yourselves as far as access. You don't need an administrator. It's for your purposes only, so that people can feel free to contact you and discuss business without any snoops. One thing I will bring up on the community center, profit loss, there's things that I want to go over because I'm not sure that they're being included in the debits that would be leveled against the community center that the city should not. It should go against the profit loss statement of the community center, not the city. Work comp for the employees, wages for the employees, any insurance that deals with those employees of the community center, particularly if they're full-time. There is also state retirement contributions to full-time folks with cities, municipal things. That if the city has to match, like FICA, federal income, that fee should go against the profit loss of the community center, not the city of Alcester. Because that way you know what that community center is actually making and that's being debited against that entity. Right now, the council is spending time. That time should go against the community center. Any time that you're spending against that should go against that community center in the profit loss program. It has to do with counting and getting everything so that you're getting a clear, accurate picture of the profit loss of that entity. It's just like for those of you that have businesses of your own, there's, FICA, you can write that off, but that's a shared expense. Your employer pays part of it and you pay part of it. Well, if you're the boss, then you get to pay a little more. And I'm just going over that so that you know. And sometimes you're not given enough, you don't have enough time to look and view that information when you're expected to sign off that, yeah, it looks okay. Sometimes it may appear and be included. Sometimes it might not. I noticed that there's credit card, that you're going to be discussing credit cards tonight, credit card access. There's a limit on those credit cards, and it's for the department. You don't want somebody coming in and they've exceeded their credit card limit for their department and they access another department to pay that bill. That's not a good thing. And because you've got no insurance that it's getting paid or it's getting attributed to the correct department, that it's all coming out of the streets or the police department or whatever. You want to be careful on that. Is the city the owner of that trailer that's sitting by the pool in the street?
Do not believe so.
Okay, that's been sitting there for a month plus. In the past, people that have parked trailers out in the street have gotten dinged and had nasty things done. And this has been sitting there for a long time. And it probably needs to be moved. And that the individual that owns it probably should get it on his property. With that said, this wood piles and stuff. People have gone after for having sticks in their yards, piles of sticks and stuff. There is a wood pile that is on that property across from the pool, and it's an attraction for vermin and it's also could be a fire hazard. Those are the things that I wanted to bring up. But like I said, on the bookkeeping issue, all bookkeeping that deals with the community center, that should be separate. That should be separate from the city and separate from the golf course, because that's like an enterprise fund, and you guys need to keep track. Are we operating this entity at a profit? If we're not operating at a profit, then maybe we should lease it out to somebody that can. So, that's everything.
Thank you. Any other public input?
Well, I called Pat the other day, and I've been addressed again on this one. Who's responsible to mow the ball field and in between the ball fields? Is that the school?
So it depends when the season is. During ball season, it is typically summer rec. In non-ball season months, it's us, the city.
Okay, because they said last year they had even general public from other towns complaining how the in-betweens looked. It was very tacky. And they
Typically,
didn't want that to happen again. And I said, well, I'll look into it. I'm not sure who's,
typically May and June, the summer rec people do it. And then we do it July through September.
okay, so maybe talk to Carolyn.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other public input?
Do we need to address the dumpster thing? The complaint of outside the city?
Yeah, I suppose, I guess one of the complaints that I have had, a couple phone calls, but the one phone call, the guy was really stressing that he's seen it firsthand, that our dumpsters down there downtown for citywide cleanup, we are receiving out of city limit people coming into town, dumping into them. So somehow we have to get a control on it. I don't know if we should, in the future, maybe put them out to the landfill, and then Mitch will have to hire someone to sit out there, but then it's behind locked keys, and then everybody knows who it is.
Kinda like how Haywarden does it, where you have to go through and you gotta talk to the person and go in.
Now, we did have one person that was out of city limits that did come in and pay to take a load down there.
Well, I'm not 100% who it was. I know it was more than 2 people for sure. I think maybe Kerry had got a phone call as well, or somebody talked to him about it, but it's just something we need to think about in the future. So,
I know they've been full.
yep.
Yeah.
There are a lot of times.
I wish we kinda did like Haywarden does. I mean, you just take it over there and, like you said, you have somebody there and you let them know what you got, and they tell you where to go or what to do with it, and you get rid of it.
But they only do it a weekend, is that correct? Or how long do they do it?
I don't know how many days they do it.
I'm not sure myself.
I did have someone come in and visit with us. They would like to take the metal and appliances. And I said it probably wouldn't work this time, but they would be willing to bring in a flatbed trailer and a cargo trailer and allow appliances to be put on that, and then they would haul the appliances away. And I did not know, this would be for Austin, what all that would involve, if that's even an option. But I said we wouldn't be able to do it this time, and we'd consider looking into it for fall.
Say that again, what's the proposal?
There's an outside person, she doesn't live here, but she collects metal or recycles appliances and metal. And she would like to have a cargo trailer and a flatbed trailer parked on those grounds, and then when they were full, she would haul them away and then replace.
Let me look into it, because it's technically all that would be waste essentially. I mean, that just gets taken to the landfill anyway, so there's no real value to it. Is she proposing that she pay the city at all for a chance to do that, or?
We did not talk money.
Okay, yeah, I guess that would be some of the information, is if she's willing to pay into it, or like.
Can they put appliances in it now?
No.
Oh, okay.
So if you wanted to get rid of a fridge or a deep freeze,
You couldn't put it
you
in.
couldn't.
And maybe that's a thing that, since you can't do that, you could contract, I don't know if she's seeking money at all, or see what kind of compensation or consideration there is if she were to come in and do something like that, because it is offering a service that you're not allowed to do now.
Mhm.
So there's obvious benefits to it, but.
Is there any liability issues? If somebody if she was to get hurt or something?
Well, if it's on city ground, there could be loading, unloading. I would be curious to know if she has liability insurance. From my understanding, there's no insurance on that ground specifically, so that'd be something to probably inquire with insurance about.
That would be something to work out for, probably to have our ducks in a row in August, so
Okay.
that when we advertise it, we can advertise it.
Lucas, if I may touch base one more time, there's a thing I forgot. What is the status of the lawsuit that FCS brought against the city and the folks with regard to they sued the city?
To my knowledge, there's no official final settlement, but that's in the works and almost finished. But beyond that, I can't really discuss anything.
Okay, so that had to do with the folks, oh gosh, I can't think. The folks that live in where? Shoehart, or Shoemakers
Oh,
lived. Teresa and that, because they sued both the city and those folks. And I was curious what the status was, because that's been out there for a while.
Yep, and Sam's primarily dealing with that. I talked to him, and from what I understand, there's no official final settlement, but it's very close.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any more discussion on the dumpsters? Any other public input? If not, we're gonna move on to number 7, legal updates.
I don't have anything specifically unless somebody has something they want to update on.
All right. We'll move on to number 8, police department with Jared Thompson and Kyle.
So the last 2 weeks, I've been spending with Kyle, getting him trained and ready to go. Tonight's his first solo shift, and he's gonna be primarily on nights and overnights going forward. Other than that, the last couple of weeks, we've been dealing with a lot of animal complaints. It's fun stuff. But just kind of addressing the complaints the way they come to us and the way we need them going forward. Complaints getting directed to you guys and you redirect them to us, it works. But for us to take any kind of like legal action, like citations, ordinance violations, we need the complainant's information to avoid a possible Sixth Amendment issue, okay? So, if someone comes to you with a complaint about a rooster, first option, Union County non-emergency number. Second one, leave a voicemail on our machine if we're not there. Or third, you can come into the office here and there is a complaint form. It's just so we need the information to complainant, because if the person we're going to talk to wants to fight it, we need that information. Stuff where someone's asking for, hey, can you drive by my house a couple times this weekend? We're going to be out of town. Stuff like that. Sure, we can do. Dogs. We're getting a lot of calls about lost dogs running around, and then people are taking them into their homes or into the total stop. The issue we have with that is all the dogs so far do not have any kind of a tag on them. It helps us identify their owner besides the vet clinic tag. So we need to spread the message, get your dogs tagged properly. Chickens. Again, stuff me and Kyle are learning here. We get complaints about someone with their chickens, free ranging. I'm not a farmer. And crossing over to the park. But then I drive around town and there's other families free ranging their chickens too. And that goes under kind of what I've told Kyle is we're not going to start doing selective enforcement. So if we're getting complaints about people free range on this side of town, we have to enforce it on this side of town as well. So if people are going to be out with their chickens and they're free ranging, that's fine. You can't leave them unsupervised or that runs into an animal at large. Golf carts. Need to have the golf cart license, which is purple, right, Pat?
Yes.
And then, as me and Kyle kind of noticed in the ordinances, that no golf carts in town seem to have. Golf carts are required to have the slow-moving vehicle, that orange sign on the back. And then, as some of the council's aware of, we are having issues with the county right now, where the other night we had a welfare check on a child, and Sergeant Christie called the deputy off and said they will not respond. So I had to drive an hour from Sioux Falls for a 15-minute conversation. I'm trying to address it with the sheriff, but he is not returning my calls at this point. And I just wanted to point out there is codified law 7-12-1 that sheriff's office is responsible to respond to felonies or possible felonies, which the welfare check could have fallen under. So I'm trying to address it. Sheriff isn't calling me back. So I might need someone that can get through to him to. And that's pretty much all I got, unless anyone has any questions for me right now.
I don't think so.
So you think it will work a little better now when you, will help you guys when you're on a separate schedule?
That's what we're kind of hoping is, at least through the summer, I'll be on day shift, and he's gonna come in nights, overnights. So, I mean, there is gonna be some times when neither of us are here, but we're hoping that's not when the calls are gonna come. But, I don't know, one of the things we've possibly heard is that the previous Alcester guys are just angry that there's no on-call anymore. So we don't know if it's a them issue or it's the whole sheriff's office, so.
We definitely have to find out.
Yep. All right, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
So something I wanted to bring up was seeing about getting more pay for myself. I was hoping to get $21.50 an hour. With the problems that we're having with the county not responding, my wife currently isn't working because she's in school full-time. So I was working a part-time job, but with the amount of times that I've been called in for small little things, that people are refusing to, they won't stop calling dispatch until an officer is dispatched to them. And then I have to come in, I can't really work a part-time job and be able to respond to those kinds of things because my part-time job is all the way in Sioux Falls. So with the $21.50 an hour, I'd be available in Beersburg 95% of the time for those calls that county is still refusing to come out to. Not really on, we don't want on-call time, but for the things that need to be addressed, me being able to only be 10 minutes away rather than an hour, hour and a half by the time we're able to get here, get changed, and then go address the situation. I can have the situation addressed within an hour. It's a lot easier for me to kill off an hour towards the end of the week and you guys not have to pay me overtime than to shave off 3 hours and potentially still end up getting called in towards the end of the week. So I feel with the $21.50 an hour, I'd be able to not have to work a part-time job, and it would help with the income basis that I'm having, and then it would help with the call volume if things are coming in. I've now been called in 3 times, all to deal with animals, but issues that if we didn't address them now, that I can't really go back and address later. So the one was I had to come in and write a citation, that kind of stuff. It's like, well, I need to write the citation when it's happening and not really the next day. So I feel with that, it would help the availability of me being able to respond to things.
You're at 1938?
$19.38 an hour. I've done the math, and the $21.50 is where it would really help me with bills and stuff at home.
Well, I definitely see where you're coming from. I kind of think the county should have to help out to a degree, just for the fact that they help out other small cities that have the same situation. I mean, if they need backup, they come out and they help, right? So in the same sense is, I mean, you're not getting on call, but we have to pay you more to have you on standby.
Yeah. So, which, in my eyes, would actually be better for you guys, because you're not paying me the, I believe, $2 an hour on call time, and you're not paying me overtime because I'm able to shave off the hours towards the end of the week. So, budgeting wise, it would actually be beneficial for me to be on standby, on more of a standby status, and then clock in when the call does come in and you guys not have to pay me, just to sit at home and do nothing. And then you're only paying me when I'm responding to calls, and I would be more available to come out for certain things. So that's kind of where I was seeing it from. In the long end, it would probably work out same mathematically wise if you guys were paying me to sit at home, because he won't be able to do on-call time since he lives all the way in Sioux Falls. So you guys would have to pay, if we had on-call time, I'd be getting paid, if not even more than the extra $2 I'm asking for.
So can you clock in and clock out on your phone, right?
Yes,
So if the call comes in at, say, 8:15 PM, you're at home, you're gonna clock in when you get the call, and then you're gonna clock out when you get back home, right?
correct. Or, so depending on, so I've gotten calls that I haven't gotten paid for, because I just get a call and they're just letting us know, hey, this is what's going on. This person would like a call back or something like that. If that comes in, then I'm able to still take those. But if it's something that I'm coming to town for, I'll clock in on my way and then clock out when I get home.
How many hours are they required to work?
40 hours a week.
40?
Any questions for the alderman?
I do have a question. Do we still have a mutual aid agreement with Beersford? At one time, we had a mutual aid agreement between the two police departments.
There's nothing set in stone on paper, so the mutual aid agreement that I am aware of working with Beersford PD part-time is me as the Alcester officer working. I can request Beersford as backup, and then they have a verbal agreement that they will respond and come and assist me from the conversations that I've had with the chief. But they will not come in if it's just a call for a dog out or something like that, because it's taking them away from their town, and we're not compensating them for their officers' time having to come and deal with our cases.
So, with what you're asking, Kyle, if you quit your job in Sioux Falls, how many hours is that a week?
That is about 20 hours a week that I was working there. I'd work 2 10-hour shifts, and I also would not get burnt out as much because working 8-hour shifts here, or 8 to 10 depending on what week it is, and then the 2 days I was off, I was having to work there to make up a little extra money.
And you're still gonna work the same shifts part-time in Beersford, right?
Beersford is a very as needed basis. It is when a guy is on vacation, they send out, hey, these days are what's available. And if I'm already working here, I'm not gonna go pick up there, or I might only cover a couple hours there and still be available here.
Yeah, that's just what I'm trying to see is how much, if you quit that job, how much more time that's gonna allow for you to be on standby for a sense, you know?
So it would allow me about 60 hours a week to more be on standby within the availability of me not having to run to Sioux Falls for like groceries and stuff like that. I'd be able to stay more local for everything, and I would still be available when I get off here from the 6 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock in the morning, or whenever the chief gets in the morning, to be available so he's not having to come in super early and then us having bigger gaps in the time frame. So I would still be available for more hours then and not have to go and work another part-time job, and be here or be in Beersford available for more calls.
So how would this work? I guess if you compare it to the on-call time, wage-wise, how would it compare? What did we pay in the past for on-call?
$60 a week, $120 a paycheck. It was like $1.62 was what it ultimately ended up being for our full-time guys.
You don't wanna take on-call, do you?
I don't. On-call time would be very strenuous on my family. With the short amount of time I do get to see my wife, she understands emergencies do come up, and then I would be available to come out for calls and different things, but the on-call time would be hard, never to be able to leave Beersburg at all, but still be available to come in for calls.
Yeah, we just fought to get that kicked out of our system here, we don't wanna add that back in.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's the good option, but, you know, you can say that you'll be responding to all these calls, but you're also gonna have other things going on, so there'll still be calls you can't make. You know what I'm saying? You still have a life.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's not like you're quitting this job, you know, to take 100% standby. I mean, it's gonna open up some of the time frame, but not all of it.
So it would still open up pretty much all of the standby time that I wouldn't be there, because it's, if you think it's an hour drive there, an hour drive back, that it would take me an hour longer to get to something that would take me 15 minutes to take care of being in Beersburg. And then having to drive an hour, being paid for that entire hour, being here for the half hour, and then driving the hour back would be 2.5 hours within the hour that I would get paid that I could shave off towards the end of the week.
I think it'd be interesting, I'm a data person, so data driven, but if we could just monitor it for a set period of time, 2 weeks or a month, to see how many calls are actually coming in that are like ones that you can just answer from home, like, hey, I'll, like the dog, or, you know, like something that you, like you had mentioned, that could just wait until the next day, or just, yes, I'll follow up on that tomorrow, whatever it might be, and those that are actually bringing you into town. Because if we can see that over, say, a month's time period, it's summer, typically calls are higher in the summer because, like you said, animals are out and about, things like that. And then you can really compare that with the budgetary needs, and if the compensation truly fits what we're needing and fitting in our range and what you're asking for.
Do you guys have it? I guess my thing is, do you have to go when you're called? I mean,
So,
do we have a choice? Who could be liable if somebody got?
It depends on the type of call. Like, a lot of the calls I got in the first couple of weeks were just, hey, just so you know, next time you're on shift, this person wants to call this.
And I think that's probably gonna be really prevalent right now because there was nobody and now there's too many people coming in, so that type of call would probably be more frequent because they want you to know, like, hey, we are watching if you're in town, like, hey, we're trying to get our presence and like for you guys to know the area.
Yeah, it's like a welfare check of a child.
But the
We can't let that sit.
Right, that's what I mean, that's something you've got to do.
So that's why I'm wondering if we could kind of tally that data to see what our, like, have to deal with now, he has to come to town.
so in what I have worked out is the times that I would have to, like, drive to Sioux Falls. I drive to Sioux Falls for sure once a month to once every 2 months just to do grocery shopping, and I would just do that on the times that I know he's on the clock, because then that would leave me time to run there, come back, and then still be available by the time he gets off the clock to be able to respond to different things. And everything that I do is pretty much in Beersburg besides when I go grocery shopping, and it's just because everything's a lot cheaper in Sioux Falls.
I think Kendra has a good point. I totally understand what you're saying as well, Kyle. In my opinion, I think we should see what the county has to say as well.
Could we
Don't-
wait a
I
couple
mean-
weeks and data?
I'm just kind of surprised they're not willing to help out at all.
It's so frustrating.
When those other guys left, it did seem pretty prevalent that the county wasn't going to, like, help fill in when they were gone. Like, I do remember them talking about that they weren't gonna come fill in, help out with some of our calls while, after they left, so
For example, the cow situation. Like you said, that's not in Alcester, but yet you guys had to take it,
So,
correct?
correct. So the cows, once they get into city limits, what county is doing is they will refuse to come to Alcester because the cows are on the city limits side. And the citation that we can write them for is larger, and that's why the county is refusing. The city ordinance that I can write them for is the animal at large, and county only has a $25 citation we have a $50 citation I can write per cow that's out, but I have to respond during that time to be able to write them that citation for the cows being out. So that's where my big thing is there's things that I wouldn't be able to respond to if I have to work a part-time job that we could be citing people for, but I can't cite them if it's gonna take me 2.5 hours, 3 hours to get here.
Or if that cow charged somebody in town, then the city would be liable. Am I hearing that right? Or not?
The city would not necessarily be liable, from what I understand. It would be probably the owner of the cow for not having the fence secured of where the cows are supposed to be.
Because I mean, I just don't legally want to be in trouble if we're not,
I would agree with that, but also the county does bear some responsibility as well.
well, that's what I,
I mean,
it's like, we're supposed to do it all.
I'm pretty flabbergasted at the fact
Yeah,
that,
they,
hey, if there's a serious
Once-
situation, they're not responding, somebody's got to get to the bottom of that.
like, once we started, they kind of just like, hey, this is
Yeah,
your thing
we're not
now.
here anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's where I'm kind of struggling, just like I want to be available to be able to come and take care of those things, but financially I can't do that at the $19.38 an hour without having to pick up extra shifts to subsidize the income.
And it seems like all this stuff happens when nobody's
Yeah,
on shift.
it's always when I'm at home. There's only one thing I haven't been able to respond to, and it's because I was in Sioux Falls, and I was grocery shopping in Sioux Falls, and he was able to come to it, but I would have been able to be there and gotten it taken care of in the 15 minutes instead of the 3 hours. And with me being able to take care of it, there's going to be more time that I'm on the road, and I'm able to shave the hour off instead of the 3 hours that it would normally take to deal with that call if we're coming all the way from Sioux Falls to have to take care of the call. And then I'm only gone an hour instead of the entire 3 hours. So it would give somebody more presence in town of law enforcement as well.
So what you're asking for is $2 more an hour for the 40 hours that you're,
For the current 40 hours, I would do everything that I can. You know, I can't say at midnight on a Friday, not come out to a call because I'm at my 40 hours. There's gonna be a time where some overtime's gonna probably end up getting paid out. But what I've been doing now when I get called in is I will just shave off that time at the end of the week. Or lately, I've been scheduled a little short on hours with having to work my part-time job. So coming in is making up those hours in between, but I haven't got overtime that I know of.
So it's roughly $340 a month more, right?
Correct.
Well, I guess I definitely appreciate you explaining all this. I think we should wait on the county. I think that's a very important call that we need to try to get figured out. And then at that point, we could discuss it the next meeting. We could kind of, review it also on how many calls we have in the next 30 days, also. And then we can maybe make that, decision if we want to do that or not. That's my opinion.
The only other advice their opinion that I do have is state that there is a domestic that is going on in town. You have county all the way down in Dakota Dunes. It takes them probably 45 minutes to almost an hour to get down here to take care of that. If I'm able to stay in Beersford and be able to respond, I can get here in 10 minutes of a response time instead of an hour of a response time when it comes to those emergency calls that, hey, somebody's getting beat up right now, or hey, there's somebody having an active heart attack. I can be here a lot faster than county can, because even if we do get the stuff figured out with county and they're like, oh, yeah, hey, we'll come and help you guys out, they're still always hanging out in Dakota Dunes. They're not gonna change where they're hanging out because that's where they're gonna get most of their crime, is down in that area that doesn't have a police department. And it's gonna take them forever to still get up here. And me being so close, I'm able to get up here and get the situation either calmed down or resolved while I'm waiting for backup.
You got good points, all right? I'll give you that. Yep. It's up to you, Alderman, as well, what your opinion is.
Well, for the next 2 weeks, could you just tally or give us a report of the calls? And then we get the first of the month and we can,
And it'll give us a little time to digest things a little bit
Okay.
more, yeah.
Yep,
Is that fair enough?
yeah, that's fair enough.
because what, I mean, we gave up on call time, but to me, you're still getting that. You know, and you're still having to do that.
Well, we're gonna,
So,
I feel no matter what, even if we have the on-call time, there's still gonna be times that I'm gonna be sitting at home. 1 week's gonna be completely different than the next week.
and there's gonna be times you have overtime, you can't help it.
Yeah,
You know, we
and
understand that.
so there does come to the points where it's gonna be a slow 2 weeks and then a busy couple weeks after that. And we're a police department, we're supposed to be available all the time. And with me being able to be so close, being available more often than not to help de-escalate the situations, bring crime down in town, and being able to deal with things right away rather than waiting the time to have somebody respond.
You bet.
We'll get back to you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I can give you some history, at one point, the county wanted to charge the cities of Beersford, Jefferson, Elk Point, not so much Elk Point, and Alcester, a fee for 911 responses.
I remember that.
So you want to be really careful, because there was a big hoop-de-doo, because they wanted to charge us all, and because Dakota Dunes is an unincorporated city, or not city, but it's unincorporated, they were exempt from that, but all the rest of the towns, they were going to charge a 911 fee. And you might want to do a historical check on that to see how that, because I know all the mayors got together and fought it. And they prevailed, but it could rear its ugly head again.
Sure.
So another thing, with working in Beersford, we hardly ever have county come and help us at all. So it is very hard to say that county is gonna be able to respond to certain things within a prompt amount of time. And the situation could have completely escalated by the time county is able to even respond to something. So that is kind of where I'm leery of even working another job. If there's a current domestic or something going on, it can take them up to 45 minutes, even going lights and sirens to get here. So just safety reasons, it's easier for somebody to be a little closer and be able to respond to things in a prompt amount of time.
I agree with you, yep. Well, I would say, Jared, if you can't get a hold of them, one of us will try to reach out to the sheriff's office. And then
Try again tomorrow, but if by the end of the day, if I'm not hearing anything back, still I'll let you guys know.
And then I think if you want to ask that question about 911, or if you can't get a hold of them, one of us will try to reach out and we'll try to get some answers as well. And we'll do what we can to help you two out. So appreciate you both. 8C, are we hiring somebody? Jared, do you have anyone hiring for part-time?
No, there's just the Lauren Miller situation, but
Okay,
he's still technically an employee of the city, so.
We don't need to do that.
all right. Well, we'll move on to number 9, pool employees with Abigail.
Hello again. Just a quick update from last time. I did have our printing company come up with an incident report booklet. This is a 3-sheet carbon copy, like our receipt books would be, where in...
County.
Oh,
it's him.
In the event of an incident, the lifeguard could fill this in very quickly. Two copies would go home with mom, one needs to come back signed before the child is allowed to come back after their suspension period. And one would be kept for our records. They are numbered, so at the end of the day, once everything's calmed down, the lifeguard would fill in a full incident report and cite the slip. But this would be an easier, quicker way to send something home in the moment of something happening. These are done. You guys have a copy of what one page of that would look like. The only other thing is we have Jaylee Christensen and Evan Brown's certifications. So they are ready to go as soon as you guys hire them. And Ava, I believe, has completed the class, but I'm not entirely sure. So you guys can hire her tonight, and with the assumption that she will get us her certification. That's all I have.
Alrighty.
And is she still gonna have parents sign in with their phone number when they get their season ticket?
She is putting together a membership form, and I'm actually gonna see her tomorrow morning. We're gonna meet up
Okay.
at the pool and look over some stuff, see what they need up there. And I'll see if she has that ready, so she can email me a copy and we can get that going.
Just to update you guys, we've had trouble, lifeguards were not gonna come back because of behaviors. So we made pool rules, and we're doing this now this year to try to make it better, put it that way.
And Pat did post the pool rules on the city website. Those are already up. Once I get Peyton's form, I'll have Pat post that as well, and parents can fill that in online. There'll still
When
be
they
the
buy
stuff.
a membership, they get the rules.
Yep,
So they
they
can't
need
say,
to sign
"We
off
never
that
got
the
it."
rules.
I have a question about the rules, and
Yeah.
maybe it was just I read it while I was at work. There was one that stated in the kid, I'm sorry, I don't have a copy of it in front of me. The kids pool during the break time, the wording said like you had to be a certain age, but you couldn't be over age 14. Like 14 and older could not be in the wading pool, like in the little baby pool.
6. Can't be 6.
There was just like a wording that sounded weird, and the only reason is because I had an issue with it, because I foster kids, and there's like
Big
bigger
kids in there.
boys jumping
Yeah.
on a 2-week-old baby, and like splashing her in the face, and I was like, get out, and I made them get out, but, then I read that rule, and I was like, is it, maybe it's worded, let me think, which one is it? I can't remember, I was just gonna ask, but, yeah, it says no children over the age of 14 are permitted in the wading pool.
During breaks.
It's not the waiting pool, it's the regular
It's
pool.
like,
I think we have that under both.
I just know that's a huge point of, yeah, of the issues that we're having, so when I read that, I was questioning, but.
I guess I kind of, I can reword that if we want.
I just know that's gonna be a huge thing that they enforce, because they enforce it every single break, and so if,
Because I do think it is on our big sign up there as well, that's on the fence.
okay,
That during pool breaks, you cannot go over to the wading pool.
yeah,
And I think
So-
at that, it's age 6 and greater.
just to make
Yeah,
sure,
I
because if
have-
they're writing, like, actually kicking kids out of the pool instead of just telling
Yeah.
them, but.
I have,
Worded right.
under wading pool rules, only children 6 years of age or younger will be permitted in the wading pool, and they must be accompanied by a parent, guardian, or supervisor who is at least 14. And then the second one is no children over the age of 14 are permitted in the wading pool during breaks. So if we want to bump that down to 6, we can.
I mean,
It-
as a parent, I would appreciate that, but as a council, it's just whatever to enforce the rule,
Yeah, enforcing
Yeah.
it is the big.
whatever you want them, because I know that it's a very big issue and they're enforcing it at every break.
No,
And
there-
sometimes it's not an issue if they just come in like their parents. So they'll come in and sit on the edge. I don't have a problem with that. It's these big kids coming in there and swimming,
Yeah, and,
you know? And then last year I told one of them to get out. And then the mom said, well, he can't swim. and that child was maybe 7 or 8. Well, that is a gray area, but you wanna say, well, then maybe you should take them swimming in the big pool. You know,
Well, and
not,
if they can't swim, I don't think that's really the issue, it's because
It's a
more
messing
than likely
around.
they're not causing any problems if they can't swim, like.
right, right. That's what the mom came back with me on.
So, I just remember, I think an email you sent out, so I wanted to make sure that it was part of that.
Yeah, totally.
Well, if you'd like to change it, now's the time to speak up, you know? I think it's a good idea myself.
Yeah.
And maybe you can, I mean, I guess, ask her tomorrow, because I know that
Mm-hmm.
she's the one enforcing it most of the time.
Yeah.
If she thinks is clear enough for her to enforce and
Right.
like back up to a parent that, hey, this is why I am
Sure.
kicking your kid out of the pool, then, I mean, it can stand how written, but if she feels like it should be a stronger verbiage that the age.
And there again, she's not gonna be the one there all the time. I know she's gonna be gone 3 weeks, so it's gonna have to be embedded into the other lifeguards as well.
And
not
during
just
that
her.
time she's on vacation, I did ask her to appoint someone to be
Oh, good
temporary
idea.
pool manager while she's gone. But figure out who she trusts the most, put them in charge while she's gone.
And we've told her, call the cop. If you, some of these
I
are,
almost did last year on some of them, so.
yeah, they're just plain ornery,
Mhm.
and the mom might even be ornery. So call the cop.
Yep.
Sorry, anyway. I
No,
like the
no,
incident
totally.
report.
I will,
Are they kept at the pool then, these, or do they get brought to?
these books will be kept at the pool.
Okay.
I have a couple extra ones. I seriously hope we don't go through a full book of these in 1 year, but we have a little bit of a stockpile since they were already printing them.
And we based our rules, so if people say something, called Hey Roden, we based it off their rules. Beersford, they did not get back to me on their rules.
No, I thought they were all appropriate, I just, there was
But-
the verbiage of
But
them.
parents are gonna say, well, the other towns don't have rules. Yes, they do. So,
Yeah, every
So-
town has.
Sorry to disappoint.
Yeah, rules no matter what.
yeah. So do you need an emotion to hire those
Yep.
two? I'll make a motion to hire Jaylee Christensen and Evan Brown. And can I add Ava in that or not? Can do that separate?
Ava's in the next one, we haven't received her
Okay.
certification yet.
As 4 lifeguards at $12 an hour.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has passed. We'll move on to 9C, motion to approve hiring Ava Kingma after completion of certification, lifeguard, $12 an hour.
I'll make a motion to hire Ava Kingma after completion of her certification at $12 an hour.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has passed.
We are full though, right? We've got enough lifeguards, correct?
With Ava, we'll be full.
Yep.
And she works at the clubhouse, so she'll be easy to hunt down.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that being said, we'll move on to number 10, custodian. Pat?
So Leanne Page turned in her keys and her resignation. Her life is busy having kids at her house full-time, and it's just too much for her to do. And originally, when I was making this agenda, there was a high school person that was interested in the position. And then she found out that at her other job, she's gonna be getting a lot more hours. So for 10B, I would like a motion to approve spending money to advertise for a custodian for this building and for the city park.
I'll make a motion to advertise for custodian of the city building and the Alcester Park.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor? Opposed? Motion has passed. We'll move on to number 11, credit card approval for the police officers.
Motion to approve granting Kyle Kleinschmidt a city credit card with a charge limit of $500.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion has passed. Move on to number 12, golf course community center, old clubhouse discussion.
So I had a phone call one day last week from a business owner in Sioux Center that is interested in moving her business to Alcester. It's a business of home decor. She wants to be on Highway 11. She's interested in the clubhouse, the old clubhouse. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
To live in?
No, her business would be
business?
in the old
Oh.
clubhouse. And I did tell her, I said, now, you are aware that golf carts are gonna be driving by and potentially golf balls, and she knows that the building would need to be remodeled, she has been in the building. Her thought is she would move the doors to the west and more solid or windows to the northeast.
So is she looking to lease it or buy it?
She's looking to purchase, because she knows that it needs to be remodeled.
Did you make an offer or?
I did not ask, because I didn't know, I just said I would pose it to the council to get your opinion.
I know we've thrown around a few different ideas of it, but we haven't had anything come in.
I think at some point, I think we need to think about a place for people to stay. We have an event center, we have no place for people to stay here in town. That'd be a good spot to maybe tear it down or do something in that location. That's just my opinion. If we sell it, you know, it's gotta be parceled off, so that lot alone's gonna be worth a lot of money, just for the fact where it's located. And I know somebody right now that give $55,000 for it, so it's gotta surpass that by a long shot. That's if we parceled it off, you know, and sold the clubhouse.
And this person, I told her, I said, well, I don't really have anything on Main Street, and she does not want Main Street, she wants Highway 11. So,
But it's kinda off Highway 11, that, she didn't think she'd have a problem with that.
she felt she could get it visible.
So it sounds like we gotta look a little more into what we would do if we parceled it off and kinda get something more set in stone. If we have multiple people that are seriously interested in this, there's no reason we should hang on to it. If we got people that wanna do something with it and develop it, so.
I think
So what would be the steps? Parcel it off and then put it up?
appraisal, you know, it's zoned commercial, right?
Yep, it's owned highway commercial.
So if we would sell it to sealed bid, it'd have to go, and just say it went through sealed bids. And
Just
it would go to a
like the sheds.
residential person, it would have to be zoned back to,
Yeah.
you know, the other direction, which I don't think is a big deal to do. But with this lady wanting to do that, it's ready to move forward, but.
It would probably take 2 months, 2 good months to get it rezoned. Because you have to advertise and have hearings and so,
So if you had a parcel up, how many parcels we talking about out there?
Just one.
just one.
Just the one?
It has to have some easements to access that back city building. And then the main driveway, that'd be a shared driveway, so that'd be another easement. You could sell half the driveway, so each person kinda has to help out, putting gravel on it, maintaining it. That'd be a shared easement. No, we need to do something with it, if it's to,
It's not gonna look any better.
if we're gonna sell it to move off and the city's gonna do something with it, or we'd have somebody that'd like to come in and put some tiny log cabins in for a place to stay. I mean, when we go snowmobiling, we stay in these little 2-bedroom cabins with a loft and $150 a night. It's a good time, but it'd be a place for people to stay. We have nothing now, so. I'm just looking at what are we going to do to attract people to stay here in town or want to come to town. We get rid of that parcel that closes the door for taking that area and putting something along that direction, you know. We have that green there, but we don't really need it. I know they would like to keep it, with the old putting green. So,
Is she running a home decor over there now, did you say?
Yes, she would move her business here.
must be Shelley Russ. That'd be who I'm guessing. It's the only person I know. I think we should have it appraised and see what it's kind of worth, but I think it's gonna be worth more to us than the next person, just because of the location. And then there is a city, not a city, Lincoln Rural Water has a main going right on through that parking lot. It'd be on the west, and then it goes to the south side and cuts across, and then heads past our new clubhouse to the south. So they would never be able to build on going to the west, or really to the south, and have to stay the same.
Yeah, like I said, we gotta check on getting it appraised, probably be the first step. See what it,
So would the first step be appraised, or would the first step
Be certain, well, you have to.
doing a parcel?
You parcel it off first. And then you surplus that specific parcel and get it appraised.
So at that point, we need to decide, do we even want to part with it? Because if we don't want to part with it, then we don't need to spend the money on it. I mean, we did this at the fairgrounds, spent quite a bit of money, and it went nowhere. So
Then
we
it
don't
came
want
out with a low bit.
to, yeah.
Well, then even once it's parceled out, I mean, you can sell it, but say somebody wanted it for residential or something, you're not gonna get, I don't know what bid you're gonna get if it's still zoned general business, which is kind of a sticky situation of it, so.
but at some point, if we do want, like, if we wanna do anything with it, we'd wanna get it parceled out, right?
That depends,
Even
if
if
we
we-
want to keep it and do something with it versus if we want to sell it to commercial or residential.
But like you were talking about, like the little, the huts or the cabins or whatever, like, that would be a private company that would do that, not us, right?
Not necessarily. I mean, we could do it if we wanted to. I mean, we did the clubhouse, you know, Morningside Event Center, so. I mean, we need to do something with it, otherwise it's gonna be an eyesore for another 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, this floor needs to be tore up because there is a sewer issue.
There's sewer issue.
I mean, bringing another business to town is very important as well.
Yeah,
So, I mean, do you wanna miss that opportunity?
get more traffic along there,
That's correct.
which would in turn bring more traffic around the corner to the new clubhouse, I think. If they're shopping all day, sitting on a golf course, like, hey, honey, you can go shopping, and I'm gonna go hit 9 holes. Let's see if it came out better in the end, I guess.
You know, and that's where I kinda think, you know, my opinion, if we develop, the city needs to develop somewhere, some direction, and I think we need to go north. I mean, we're closer to the golf course, closer to the newest business in town. Anybody wanna go to the hayfield and look over Billy's eyesore, I don't think that'd be the place to build. Just my opinion.
Yeah.
I think going north, you know, if we went north, that would open up the door to a possible hotel or something that would,
A possible bigger industry, yeah.
correct.
But the infrastructure out there, that's the big issue, right?
It is.
Because we'd have to have a lift station and all that,
Yes.
but.
But at some point, you know, I even thought if we, this is a little off the topic, but if we developed up there, we could parcel off 20 acres, do a half-acre lot, and everybody puts in their own septic.
You know,
I mean, you develop quick. But back to the old clubhouse discussion, It's totally up to you if you wanna table it, if you wanna think about it for a while, or make a decision tonight, totally your call.
Say table it, look into the numbers and see.
I could talk to because we'd have to get it surveyed to create the parcel. I could find out how long of a process that would be, like how far out a surveyor is and what the cost would be.
You gonna check with McClary or Lawrence? Lawrence?
Chris Lawrenson, does Kim still do?
I think so. I'm not 100%. Be worth a phone call. Any other discussion on 12A? If not, we're going to move on to 12B, motion to approve hiring Danielle Ledgerwood cook, $13. Ella Erickson, waitress, $7.42. Is there any discussion on this?
Is this Danielle, the mom of the girl who can't do it this summer?
Correct.
Because she's going to live with her dad. So that her mom will fill in to help.
What a mom. My kid can't go to work, so I'm gonna go, oh man, I like this lady.
Well, I'll make a motion to hire Danielle Ledgewood as a cook, $13 an hour. Ella Erickson as a waitress at $7.42 an hour.
I will second that.
Any other discussion?
Just so you know, with the softball games and track, Landon called me on this and he interviewed Ella already because he's having a heck of a time keeping waitresses right now because they're busy, the kids. So that's why this one came. Really, we have quite a few waitresses, but none of them can work right now,
Right, they're all in track.
so,
And this LA is available?
yes.
Is this Kelsey's daughter?
Your
Yes.
second daughter, yeah. And Landon did the interviewing and left Kelsey out of it, so there was no family. It's Kelsey's, one of the manager's daughters, so.
Well, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has passed. Number 13, planning and zoning, fence discussion. This question has been brought up to me last year, has been brought up to me this year. This is going to go back to chain link fences, any type of fence that somebody wants to put on a property line. I have talked to Jeff Fillingsness. Sioux Falls has it. In the new development, it has to stay 5 foot away from the property line for setback. If you want to do a shared fence, you each can give 2.5 feet. But the situation is we don't really have anything in our ordinance that is stating where the fence has to be and needs to be. So, you know, if the fence is put on the property line or 18 inches back, well, first of all, if it's on the property line, how are they going to maintain it without trespassing or doing damage to your property if needed? You know, if they're going to move it back 18 inches, 24 inches, well, not too many people are going to go back there and mow it. So then you created a weed issue. This is all what Jeff is telling me.
And that's true, because I see it by us. There's an area and then that's always weeds.
So my neighbor's putting a fence in. It's gonna look nice, but it was a discussion last year when Curtis put his fence in. That was another neighbor to mine. It's kind of a new thing here in town. A lot of people are putting them in. Not a lot, but a fair amount. I think we need to have something in the ordinance stating where you would like to have the fence, on the property line, or at least Jeff is stating it needs to be 5 foot back. That's where he thinks it should be. That way they can get on the other side of it with a riding lawnmower and maintain it properly. You know, if we give any, maybe we'd go 3 foot, you know, and get a push mower back there decent. I'm just going off with what Jeff is telling me because this question, I've had multiple people ask me this question. I know Darla's had phone calls on it. It's just something I think we should make black and white. And then it, eliminates anybody calling an alderman and saying, well, I'm not quite sure. Well, I've called Pat on the same topic. Where's it supposed to be? Well, Pat is always, she tells me, well, I tell them, I recommend staying back 15, 18, 24 inches back so you can work on your property and maintain it from your property.
So would you be grandfathered in? And the only reason I'm asking this is, okay, is right now kind of like property line? Pretty much.
It's at the owner's discretion right now, but when they come in and get their building permit, like Lucas said, I would always tell them, allow something so that you can stand on your own property if you have to do maintenance, whether it's painting, whether it's mowing, whether it's repairing.
Because like if somebody's got one now and it falls over, they're responsible, but chances are they're gonna put it right back up where it was,
That would
correct?
be a decision on you guys when we rewrite this, if that's what you wanna do.
I don't know.
You would address that fact, because if you make the change and they come in to get a building permit, then they would be under the new
'Cause
regulations.
I looked it up too, and it's really kind of, there's really not.
We never specified
But
distance.
more and more people are doing fence, more and more.
Yeah.
Up in that, our area up there, there's a lot more fences.
Like when I used to live in Sioux Falls and our backyard was completely fenced in, it was right on the property line all the way around. We had shared fences with all the neighbors, so that's just what always seemed normal in my eyes, I guess. Because otherwise you have that 5 feet back and you're losing a bunch of your backyard, then you gotta mow around this weird strip on the back side of it.
Which you forget to do
Yep. And then
conveniently.
the other person's looking at it like, why'd they put this fence way back there where they can't mow it? No, I'm not. So, I don't know, is there a lot of issues with people having shared fences?
I don't think a lot of it's shared fences, I think it's private fences, this person wants it, and that's where it goes. I don't know, I just get the phone calls with people asking, hey, I'm thinking
I
about
don't
putting
know
a fence
anybody
up.
that shares, to be honest with you.
I know my neighbor Dave, he called me and I said, Dave, I tell you the truth, put it where you want, but I said, I would recommend staying back like Curtis did, and then it lines up with it. But it's just something that I've had to call multiple times, and it's something we should just try to get figured out what we want, so it eliminates further discussions.
Don't forget about utility access.
And that's another thing Jeff said, a lot of this new development, they're running the utilities down the center of the property line, the shared property line. And that's where they have a 5-foot easement, the utilities, and that's why Sioux Falls is doing it. It's set back 5 foot because of the utilities.
So then the utilities would be behind the fence, basically.
They're supposed to dial before they dig, and there should be a big line of flags if utilities are there.
Correct, but this eliminates, if the utility company comes in and wants to do something with their utilities, the fence is not on top of the utility.
So could you have the option of both? Could you have the option of a shared fence, which would be on the property line and both property owners would have to agree? And then also offer the opportunity of,
Your own fence would set back, absolutely.
I think that's be a good way
Yeah,
to
that'd
do
be a
it.
good way.
Yeah. So if your neighbor's good with it, that's good to go. Like I told Dave, it don't matter to me, if you have it set back, I'll
Only
mow it.
thing is if you have somebody that's got a fence, you sure wouldn't want them to line up and look kind of down if one's here and one's there.
Correct. And I mow Curtis Kaiser's right now mow Dave's, they're not gonna come back there for 18 inches, I mean, that's not a big deal to me, but it's just something we need to make clear in the future, so anybody that comes in gets a building permit, Pat can say right out to them, right up front, well, if it's good with your neighbor, get their permission and notify them. If they're good and it's a shared fence, it can be on the property line.
I would say
You know?
we need it in writing,
Yep,
and it will go in with the building permit.
yep. And if your neighbor is not good with it, then we need to discuss what kind of setback we would think would be feasible.
Yeah, the only thing I'm seeing right now in P and Z manual is that if there's a fence to be constructed on the property line, you're notified of the issuance of the permit, but there's no requirement to have like a fence maintenance agreement or anything like that.
And if you don't wanna do nothing with it, that's
No, I think
fine.
we should have something, just because more and more people are putting fence up.
And that is a question I get every time someone comes in with a building permit on a fence. Where can I put it? So, if we had something concrete that.
And
we
does
could
it
put
have to
down.
be so tall?
Yes, that is
6
already
foot.
in here.
That is, for sure.
8 feet.
That
Is
is
it
in
8
here.
feet?
It's 8
It
feet.
is 8 feet, yeah.
Unless it's in the front yard, then it's 4.
Okay.
And unless you're in a corner lot, you can't obstruct visibility for driving.
Are we talking only residential here for this setback, or also
It's all,
for all of them?
because we have the agriculture, residential, and commercial business.
Yep.
And then we have highway commercial is E. And industrial.
So then we'd have to change the ordinance then, correct, or add the ordinance, or what, how would that be?
Just amend the whole section, I think, clear it up, and add a new section.
I think we should do that.
So we just gotta determine the distance of a setback if they don't have a mutual agreement.
Correct.
A mutual written agreement.
Yeah. What do you think on that?
I think either way is fine with me. I think the setback is good if the neighbor is not, you know, fine with
That
it.
at least gives you
That's
the
right,
neighbor
that's
like,
right.
hey, I don't want them putting a fence on my fence, or on my
Yep.
property line, like, so. You know what, you got 3 foot, 5, I mean,
You know, like Kendra said, 5 foot does kill a lot of your yard.
yeah.
3 foot, you know, is,
I can ask Shane too, he builds fences,
You can
so
still walk.
Oh, he
and
does?
move around.
Yeah, that's
I can ask like what people typically do. Just for, and like how it works when they join fences together, you know, if there's if it's easier if it's 12 inches instead of 18 for how you set the concrete in the bowls or things like that. I can clarify and we can decide an exact number at the next meeting, if that would be of any good.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I would think the ones that are already there would have to be grandfathered.
Yeah,
I mean, you're gonna have to tear it down.
unless they're gonna be reconstructed.
yeah.
Right.
But I would say, you know, moving forward, anybody putting a fence in, it should be in black and white, what it's going to be, and then it eliminates the phone calls. I mean, no, I'll take multiple phone calls, but this is what I do. I take it to the table. I've always been this guy. If I get the phone call, I'm gonna have it discussed through everyone at the table. And that's why I brought this to the table, because it's been another phone call, and it's my backyard, but it's fine, you know. So, we'll table it till next meeting, and then we'll have it on the agenda on how we want it written on the ordinance. Is that fair enough?
Well, I know 18 inches wouldn't be enough for me to get back there out.
To mow.
Yeah.
And, you
Well,
know,
I mean, I don't have a fence and I don't have that problem, but
what Jeff really stressed to me is where it becomes a big issue is when the property, when the property switches hands, ownership. And then one person doesn't like it, it's right on the on the property line, and that person just comes unglued. So, if we have something in writing, I think that's gonna be best for everyone.
Do you want to draft something and then just leave a section blank for the distance?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
that works.
Super. Any other discussion on 13? Otherwise, we'll move on. Okay. 14, snow removal repairs.
So we had something happen this winter that we've not had happen since I've been in this position, where multiple mailboxes were broken. Now, I have 3 families where the mailbox was damaged during snow removal. And I have one place where 4 mailboxes are joined together and the poles broke. Now, when you talk regarding the 4 mailboxes that are together, with the poles, if you talk to our snow removal team, they say, we didn't do it. You talk to the property owner who was looking out his window when the snow went by, and they said, as soon as the snowplow went by, the mailboxes fell. So, I'm not gonna lay blame either place. I actually think what happened was it's just a really hard winter, and these
Yeah,
poles are
like-
super old, and they just, with the pressure of the snow, they just gave way.
Oh, we were pushing snow that was higher than mailboxes.
Exactly.
Bound to happen.
So we don't have anything in our policy about offering any repairs back to the homeowners. I don't know if it's something that the city wants to do, or does the city say, we are not responsible?
My opinion, we are responsible. It's just like the state, when they're out plowing highways, there's no questions asked, they go out and fix it, whatever it takes. If they're plowing snow,
Does insurance cover anything like that?
I mean,
Our
it
deductible wouldn't kick in?
is in the right of way of the city.
How much, I mean, we're not talking a ton of money, it's just the poles that they're sitting on.
Well, it's also going to be then the labor for someone to come and do that work.
Yeah.
So it's not just buying the poles. The one with the fourplex where that happened, the two poles are broken and it's being supported with a bucket on each end right now. And so we have to build a loaner frame and put the posts in the ground. The mailboxes are fine on that situation, it's the frame that is bad. The other three are mailboxes that are damaged. Which mailbox is $40 a mailbox? I mean, that's like nothing. But I don't have anything in writing, I did not know what to tell these people, so we just took people's names as.
Well, I've even kind of wondered about our neighbor where the water thing got broke off.
Curb stop.
Their yard looks pretty bad. I mean, it looks like it could use a scoop of dirt. But they haven't said anything. Are we liable for that?
We have done that in the past, if we have repaired someone's curb stop and we leave a mound of dirt for the off-season, and then if the spring comes and
Because
it
it's like sunk
settles,
in.
then we'll put dirt back on it.
It looks kind of, they haven't said a word to me, but personally, I think that looks kind of bad. And it looks bad on us.
Okay.
Where was that at?
Right next to us.
To the north,
To the north.
Oh.
What is it, that broke off?
the curb stop.
Yeah,
The
the
pipe
curb
itself.
stop thing, the
Yeah.
pipe. It was when it was really cold there. They had to go down in and dig it out when it was frozen. It's just a mess.
So I think one thing to consider, if we're going to start replacing mailboxes and posts, that if we're willing to do that, we're not going to be willing to start replacing landscaping that people are putting around their mailbox. Or if they have a rock with a sign and whatever else, because the
Or
city
could you
does.
say you would give them the poles if they presented a bill? And they do the work.
Do any other cities have these rules?
I'm just trying to, I haven't heard of anything, but I'm looking at some other places right now, and, they don't typically do the labor, they just replace the mailbox only, or in this case, you would provide the poles, and it's kind of up to them to do the rest.
They do the rest, yeah.
And I can
And
do
we don't
more,
have the labor cost.
and I can do more digging as to South Dakota ordinances to see what places in the area do.
Sorry, pun.
As far as I know, other cities don't do anything for their patrons if they break a mailbox or they break a pole. It's just what happens when you push snow.
I say you give them a post office box key, that's what I have. Here you go, don't have to worry about this again.
Oh. And the other thing about it is, we could either give them a new mailbox, or we could give them an allowance. We could say, if we cause this damage, then we'll give you $40.
Because I mean, some of the poles could be rotten. And that's not our fault.
And that's exactly right. You know, the issues that we had where those two posts broke off on those 4 units that are together, the poles were old. then they just get away with the pressure.
Well, and we're not necessarily talking that the snowplow itself hit it, it could have been the snow that
The
the
snow.
snowplow kicked up.
Correct.
And then,
Act of God.
exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think if we're gonna have to start paying out on that, like, our guys are gonna swerve around mailboxes, and you're not gonna get to your mailbox, so.
No.
I think that's a slippery slope if we start paying out on that, cause then people are gonna run over their own mailbox and be like, snowplow did it. I hit my mailbox. Oh, that's a tough one.
It is. I don't know what to do.
I've been jumped about it from the same person 3 times, and I just walk away. I don't know what to say. It's like, fix it. That's what I really say, but.
May I interject again? The post office might have some rules as far as post boxes and stuff and the liabilities that are involved with those. I know on the curb stops, the city might want to take into consideration not leaving them stand up so high, because then they do get snagged. But I can't remember what the post office directs for mailboxes, for like rural mailboxes or the rural delivery type thing.
I
If
don't
they
think
have
the post office
special
takes
rules.
any liability on it. It's all up to the property owner. So.
You wanna just look and see what others do, and then next time we can.
Any other discussion? If not, we're gonna move on to number 15, finance office updates.
Okay, just as Abigail said, the pool rules are on the website, the golf rules are on the website. I sent out with your packets the draft housing study. I also shared that with the industrial board. I did have somebody call me. They have about 20 kids that would like to provide some manpower for community service projects this summer. They would be willing to paint, they would be willing to stain, they would be willing to rake flower beds or whatever needs to be done. They just want to beautify something. The homeowner would have to supply the supplies, so if you're painting or staining a deck or, so if you are driving around town or you know of somebody that maybe could use a little help with a project, we do have some high school kids that want to do some work.
What about the guy that we were?
Yeah, and I was free.
Yeah, it has that
If he's got,
help.
if he's got any supplies sitting around that he could use some labor.
I would exercise caution on that one. It's a little rough. I'm thinking more of our single ladies that maybe can't do things outside. But I don't know. I just,
How much? How many? 25?
I have about 20 young people that are willing, and I have an adult that would supervise the project.
Like it's a one-time thing? Like they do it one day or?
I don't know, I suppose it would depend on the project. I mean, they're willing to like paint a garage, or they're willing to paint maybe a low-story house, not a two-story house, but,
You know, a couple of years ago up at the nursing home, they had, where their sign is out front, they put in railroad ties and some rock and stuff, and that was done through some school, or our school up here.
yeah, the 5th grade class, they use it as a math assignment.
And then, I know they also did some landscaping for people at a few homes.
Yep. These are a little bit older kids, so these are teenagers. So, but they're willing to do painting, raking, whatever. So if you know of somebody, or you have an idea on a project, let me know and I'll pass that information on.
What about the park shelter? Does that need to be restained?
We actually need some new siding on that shelter,
The good one or the one down
the
below?
open. The other one is in pretty good shape.
I think we should consider closing the other one like we did with that. The one up to the east.
Can we put hot into the one down below?
It's just age, the boards are rotting underneath and the siding isn't sticking to anything and,
No, like the holes that are inside of it, the doors that's broken in.
that door has always been a little bit of a situation because kids think there's something back there even though there's nothing back there. And kids also use it to get up in the attic, which we have now screwed shut. So there's nothing in that area anymore. It's all cleaned out.
Yeah, no, I just went to the park the other day and it looked like it had been vandalized. Holes in it.
I would say if that's going to continue, we need to put up some type of game camera or something to get a hold of the problem.
It definitely looks like vandalism and not.
Oh, yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
We, that open shelter does need some work, because the lights are really outdated and have those grates over them and they're not super bright. And I know it needs a roof, just put a steel roof on it like we did with the other one. The siding is bad, it's been hit with baseballs. So, but
I don't know, there'd be a grant or something.
Do all those tables need staining or anything? I didn't really look at them up closely, but.
those tables are probably pretty good. I mean, we could probably have them paint. Most of our picnic tables are the collapsible Mighty Light ones, like your guys' table. So they're pretty,
No fire hydrants. Any of those need to be painted?
I just did them last year, but.
You did?
Mhm. I like to do that job.
I know our streets are in pretty bad shape, this is kinda getting off in a different direction, but, boy, our sidewalks on Main Street look terrible. Could a person send out a polite letter just saying, boy, we would appreciate it if you'd maybe upgrade a little bit? I mean, in a kind way, maybe to just inspire them maybe to do it? I don't know.
I would say they have to do it. I mean, it's way past due. I don't know how much equipment I've wrecked moving snow on them.
Well, the one in front of the bar down there is terrible. Well, I mean, they're broken up all the way along.
That's us.
That's us.
Yeah, I know it is. I know it does.
Well, I got on the council and I did say we need to replace that right away. But, did you ever get a bid on it?
No, but I saw that they're in town now, so I will give them a call.
Weren't we gonna use COVID money or something for that? Can we still do that? Okay.
The other thing I was gonna say, I did get Cindy and Carrie signed up for budget training on June 28th in Sioux Falls. If anybody else wants to attend, let me know, I can get you signed up as well. It's just a day class, and I do have the agendas printed out for you.
Okay.
And,
28th?
yes, June 28th in Sioux Falls. And then, now that we do have a full council, or more full council, it was suggested quite a few years ago to have a separate email account for city business versus your personal. I don't know how people feel about that. Do you want a separate email? Because if you do, I can get one set up for you. That's your call.
I'm fine either way.
Yeah, I do too, it doesn't matter, as long as it's not complicated.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Do city employees have their own email? Like at Alcester or whatever, like,
It's, yes, we can set it up as on our city site, yes.
it'd probably be nice then, just be more synchronized, a little bit more professional.
Okay. I will do that.
Go ahead and sign me up for that too.
Okay.
28th.
All right. Then the Pleasant Hill Cemetery, I've been talking with Stacy about this. We have a lot of different CDs for the cemetery. This was something that we inherited as we took over the cemetery, so these were not ones that we took out for all these varied lengths and everything. the CDs have renewed, but they've renewed at a much lower rate. And now the rates, if we could combine all of these CDs into one CD, the rate would be 4.65, which right now we're getting anywhere from 0.3 up to 3.4. So if I have a CD that is coming due the 25th of May, and if we would take the penalty on all the remaining CDs, it would only total about $158 in penalty. And then we would create one CD at a value of $53,000 and some change. And the best rate is a 12-month CD at 4.6. So I'm just asking your permission to,
How come there was so many CDs? What's the,
that was done when the board had it, years ago, like the Shirley Jenkins and Dick Hughes and all those guys. So I don't know. If they just started a CD when they got a bunch of internment money in, and then they're just like, okay, let's just make this CD. But this money is set aside for perpetual care. So,
So how often have we?
never.
Looking at the interest rate,
It would pay for itself in the first month, let's do it.
well, I think, I've never seen, in my lifetime, I've never seen interest this high on a CD.
No.
But I know it's a couple tenths less, but I'd lock it in for 60 months at 410. If you don't need the money, you're gonna because it could easily fall off next year, and it might go up higher, I don't know. But that's good interest rate. That's just my opinion.
So you get 4.1 for 60 months. So with that, it would be $181 something that we would make in the first month. I think that would pay for the
Penalty.
penalty. I think the 60 months sounds like a no-brainer, like you were saying. Like,
Lock it in and let it ride.
I totally agree, because I'll tell you what, the way this country's going, sometimes I wonder if you can lock it in, maybe it'd be best to lock it out.
Well, that's what I'm saying, to have that interest at that rate a year from now, I'd be surprised. It could be, but that's my opinion.
The other thing you could do, if you want some flexibility there, you only have to have a minimum of 20,000, and we have 53,000. So you could put some money in a year and gain the 4.6, and you could put some money in, say you did the 20,000 at 4.6, and you did 23 or 33,000 in at 4.1.
so is there any reason foreseeable or in the past that we would need to take money out? That we would need to have shorter CDs that we need to?
There are 2 checking accounts for the cemetery right now, and they have about, let's see, my cemetery accounts probably have about 23,000 in them. And since I have been with the cemetery board, which has been since 2014, we have never gotten into the CD money. So,
I don't think we'll need to take, if it's locked in, we have less chance of using the money. Have more chance of making more money off it.
Yeah, I like that idea of the 60 month,
At what interest rate?
4.1.
4.1? Okay. I'll make a motion.
Okay?
I'll second it.
I make a motion to approve consolidating all
Yeah.
PHC's CDs into one 60-month CD at the interest rate of 4.1.
I'll second it.
Does it work to do that, Austin? Can we do it like that?
Yeah, since it's at least noticed that we're gonna discuss this and take official action on it.
All right. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has passed. C, 15C is motion to approve paying Community Partners Research Housing Study. And this was when we started the affordable housing, and that came to the table that we needed more housing in town. We figured, well, this is the best way to go to see what we really do need, so.
A motion to approve paying the Community Partners Research Housing Study of $2,500 out of the general fund.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passed. 15D, monthly spot checks for 2023. Pat has our handout, so there are a few that we could get going on.
And it is updated now with the new council members on there. So when your month comes up, just let me know when you want to come in and we can go through them.
Then 15E, performance reviews, Lonnie Johnson.
He is due for his full year.
So, that would be under water, no,
Yep.
yeah, water and streets. So, two of you,
There's a form.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I will email the form out to you guys so you've got it.
Thank you.
and then 15F, reminders and updates, Alcester Hudson High School, last day of school is May 18th, 2023. Spring cleanup ends May 21st of 2023. Memorial Day, May 29th, 2023. Office is closed. The pool opens June 1st of 2023. And then city council meeting, June 5th, is 2023 is on a Monday night, but the second meeting, June 20th, that meeting will be on a Tuesday night.
Correct.
So, with that being said, we'll move on to 16, executive session if needed.
May we have a short one?
Yeah, I was gonna make a motion to go into executive session SDCL 1252, what's personnel? One.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. We are in at 7:44 PM. All right, we are out of the executive session at 8:22 PM. And we'll move on to number 17, adjourn the meeting, so I do need a motion to adjourn.
Go ahead.
Motion to adjourn city council.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has passed. We are out. We adjourned at 8:22 PM.